That's how me and OBJ started, just like that. Now, Tua, hope you keep everything the way you are. Don't change, dye your hair and everything. But that's the way a lot of people, it connects the world. That's why the world is so much closer. There's so many more relationships. That's awesome. That's what someone as Russell Wilson's character and ability should be doing. And they are a perfect match on and off the field as far as their personality.
But how about on the field stylistically? I know Tua is left-handed, so you got to reverse everything. But does his play remind you of Russell Wilson at all? Because his build reminds me of Russell Wilson a little bit.
Russell's got a really special body as far as their height being challenged, them having an over-top throwing motion, even though, of course, Tua's throwing it from the left. Yeah. No, there's a great carryover from a style. They both have a perfect throwing motion, straight over the top.
What up, Jenna?
Go ahead.
That's good.
Go ahead. Give it to me.
No, you got me thinking because I mentioned my ex-boyfriend's name, and I just wondered if I'm going to get in trouble for having mentioned that. Was it wrong of me? Now
I told you 6 months ago not to say this poor guy's last name on the air. You now got C hadn't been able to get Alshon Jeffrey's name right for 2 years, but he got your ex-boyfriend's name right 11 times last segment.
Alshon Jeffrey, man, stop sweating it. Hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a list of 5 people you got dumped in high school. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant 5 stories to start your morning.
5 stories to start your morning.
I'll give a sponsor for that one.
That was funny.
This is sponsored by Gillette Clear Gel.
David Price got his first career postseason win as a starter last night. Boston took down the Stros 4-1 in the game and 4-1 in the series. Now they'll either take on the Dodgers or the Brewers in the World Series. All right, Nick, how impressive has this Red Sox been?
Man, listen, they won 108 games, and I was talking about that all year, but I also said I thought the Astros were the best team in baseball. All the advanced analytics said that. Run differential said that. And then they went into Houston and swept them in Houston. The Red Sox are 5-0 on the road this postseason, 2-0 in the Bronx, 3-0 in Houston. What a remarkable run up to the World Series.
Jenna, you and I were concerned with how they're going to follow up that historic regular season. We saw with that road record playing that well. It speaks for, man, getting this team to the World Series. You like to see one of the best, who's had one of the best regular season, get to that championship platform. That's where they're going to be. The Red Sox, they deserve. It's going to be an exciting World Series.
Happy for David Price. Such regular season success.
Yes.
Boston stuck with him when a lot of their fans didn't want him to. He was great last night.
All right, Bulls take it on the 76ers. Ben Simmons looked impressive with a 13, 13, and 11 triple-double, while Joel Embiid added 30 points and 12 rebounds. Sixers win 127-108. Now, good. How did this Philly team look last night?
Philly looked good. They needed to. The Bulls are going to be one of the worst teams in basketball this year, and Philly didn't come out ready to play defensively at all. They allowed 41 points in the first quarter. They responded by allowing 35 points in the next 2 quarters combined. But see, your MVP pick, Joel Embiid, most teams are going to look like this against him. They did not have an answer for Joel Embiid on the low post. He dominated that game.
You can see him to continue to develop. The thing that we like most is he's not on a minutes restriction. So you're talking about talent, can shoot the 3, can run the court, is a monster on the defensive end. So this team is growing. I'm worried about their bench, though, Nick. They're not very, very deep this year.
They actually let Markelle Fultz play in the second half, which I know you're happy.
Yeah, that was one of the bright spots in the game.
Actually,
play the kid.
People were cheering every time he got the ball. They were standing up and cheering every time they wanted to see what he could do. All right, moving on to what could have been. Paul George said he would have joined the Lakers if the Pacers didn't trade him to the Thunder last year. PG went on to sign a 4-year, $137 million extension, and Lakers got some guy named LeBron. So, Nick, what'd you make of Paul George's comments?
It just confirms what I think smart people knew, which was that Paul George didn't stay in Oklahoma City because LeBron went to L.A. and he didn't want to play with LeBron. He stayed in Oklahoma City because he fell in love with Oklahoma City, and he loved playing with Russell Westbrook. This wasn't about who not to play with. It's about who he wanted to stay with. Had he never had the experience of playing with Russell Westbrook, he was going to go sign with the Lakers and LeBron.
Yeah, I believe that we can flip those around, too. You didn't mean them in that order as far as the organization, and then Russell. Man, Russell, that was a huge impact. He fell in love with playing with Russ, thought that the extended time in training camp, spending more time on and off the court, that bond would only get better, thinking they could compete for a championship. So, yes, that was the reason compared to not going home. So that was a huge decision.
And real quick, do you know who heard that and got at least a little optimistic?
Toronto.
Folks in Toronto. about Kawhi Leonard, that maybe they can turn him the way OKC and Russ.
The fans in Toronto were working on opening night.
Absolutely right.
All right, ending with some college football. Number 6, Michigan, taking on number 24, Michigan State. When asked about the rivalry, Jim Harbaugh said, quote, "I understand it thoroughly." Harbaugh is 1-2 in his career against the Spartans. CC, how do you see this game shaping up on Saturday on Fox?
Michigan's looking good. Michigan is this is where Harbaugh expected his team to be. In this year of him taking over, they had the beginning season loss at Notre Dame, which has turned out to be one of the top teams in college football. But this is a team that we can't be fooled thinking you're going to watch Michigan and watch this explosive offense. If you watch Michigan, the best part of Michigan is their defense. It's a top 5 defense in the country. Get after the passer, got good linebackers, got a good secondary, can turn the football over to give Patterson and that offense an opportunity to mature. And you can see in the last couple games, the offense is catching up with that defense. Jim Harbaugh should be proud. They should be able to get this win. If he does not get to 2-2 in this Michigan State rivalry, man, there is going to be a huge, huge problem. So all the momentum that they had created for Harbaugh can be lost immediately in this huge rivalry game this weekend.
Listen, Michigan's played one bad quarter of defense. One bad quarter, not game, quarter of defense all year. It was the first quarter of the season against Notre Dame. They let Notre Dame score 14 points. Since then, they have been the best defense in college football. You said it. The offense is just now starting to catch up a little bit. But the defense, what they did to Alex Hornibrook, who I think was 9-1 in his last 10 starts leading into that Michigan game, and Wisconsin last week was dominant. Now, it will all be erased if they lose as touchdown favorites on the road against Michigan State this weekend. They're 1-2 against Michigan State. They should be 2-1. They blew one of those games on a bad special teams play, but nobody cares about that. People care about what's his record against Ohio State, see?
Had 1-1.
0-3. Against Michigan State, their secondary rival, 1-2. Now, I can say, and I have said, man, if not for a spot, they have a win against Ohio State. If not for a bad snap on a punt, they have 2 wins against Michigan State. But the reality is, in the record books, 1-5 against their 2 rivals. If they win this weekend, which they should be playing Ohio State with the path to the college football playoff on the line in the final game of the regular season, especially since the other division in the Big Ten does not look like it's going to put out a real contender in the Big Ten championship game. But in order for that Ohio State game to mean everything it should, where it could be 3 versus 2 in the country, they got to win this weekend.
And Danny Cannell came out here and said yesterday he thought Michigan was one of a handful of teams that actually can compete with Alabama.
Yeah, they're good enough defensively to be able to slow down Tua in that offense.
All right, moving on. We finally got that long-awaited Laker debut for LeBron James. The team in Portland last night. It didn't take long for the Kang to do his thing, opening the game with 2 signature dunks. LeBron finished with 26 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Not to be outdone, Damian Lillard scored a game-high 28 points. Blazers win 128-119. Here is LeBron and what he brings to a young Lakers team.
You control what you can control, and what I can control is how I lead these guys and how I prepare every day. I come in with a championship mindset and an excellent preaching and practicing excellence every single day. So, and I believe that will wear off.
All right, Nick, which of LeBron's teammates right now, and he's working with a group of young up-and-coming guys, which of his young teammates needs to step up most for this in this season for it to be considered a success?
I think LeBron's favorite teammate's going to be Rondo. But I think the most important teammate to him and the one that has to play the best is Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram was bad in the first half yesterday. He played much better in the second half. But Brandon Ingram's the only other guy on this team that can be a 20-plus point a game guy. And you got to remind me, the last team to compete at the level the Lakers want to, that only had 1 guy scoring in 20 a game. There isn't one. Like every team these days that's a real contender has a couple go-to scorers. We know what LeBron's going to bring to the table, and I know what the other guys can bring to the table is complementary pieces. But as far as guys you can run the offense through when LeBron's out of the game, guys that you can throw the ball to at the nail and let him go to work, that is Brandon Ingram. He's a guy that has to take the type of leap he made from year 1 to year 2, which was substantial. He has to make that type of leap year 2 to year 3.
Nick makes a great point as far as Brandon Ingram being that most important. Nick makes also a good point as far as his favorite teammate probably is going to be Rondo. I'm just going to tell you, might not be his favorite teammate. I believe the most important is Lonzo Ball. And the reason why is because not only because of his skill set, a lot of it has to do with the organization and what Magic Johnson said. Because if he can be the difference maker at the point guard, it becomes even more attractive who they're going to get in free agency beyond this season. Because in the West, let's not forget who you're competing against. Chris Paul is aging, but man, Steph Curry, he's aging. But these guys still got 2 to 4 years in their prime still left. You're going to have to deal with those point guards. We saw the 2 guards that Portland's throwing at us. So in the West, you got to have a guard. I just believe as far as the Lakers developing, if they want to play at pace, if he develops his jump shot, I just believe the totality of it, Lonzo Ball continues, and he's going to be able to move the meter with LeBron. Because if you have a superstar point guard who has a lot of the attributes of LeBron, I just believe that to be significant. Is it more important than his relationship with Rondo? I can't say that. Is it more important than Ingram's developed? I can't say that. I believe all of them are very, very important as the Lakers continue to try to put a basketball court that potentially can represent a championship in the next couple of years.
Do you think Lonzo cares whether it's a veteran or if it's a young guy, whoever it is that steps up? Right now, does he...
LeBron cares?
Yes. I'm sorry. Do you think he just feels like he can trust the veterans a little bit more?
Listen, LeBron's never played with a guy like Rajon Rondo. And that's the reason I mentioned him. He's never played with a guy who can meet him at eye level on not just basketball IQ, because D. Wade could do that, but as far as the first inclination being to pass, to get teammates involved. There were 2 really good moments of leadership last night, one by Rondo coaching up LeBron, and then one when LeBron was mic'd up, and they made a big deal of it on the broadcast, where he went over and he said, guys, if you fall down, stay down. Wait for one of your brothers to come pick you up, to try to remind these guys we have to all be pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, and we're trying to create a culture.
Yes.
All right, that we're going to be there for you, and that's on and off the court. LeBron James your brothers are going to be here for you. So it's important that all of them develop their own little relationship. And that's the one thing I can say about LeBron, knowing teammates that played with him his first stint in Cleveland, knowing teammates that played with him being Ray Allen, Shane Battier, Dwayne Wade, and talking with these guys, they have never had a teammate who did the type of team building and things that LeBron James has done. And this is coming from a roster of Jetty Osman, who could be the last guy on the end of the roster compared to a guy who was a franchise player in Dwayne Wade. So that's something that LeBron has done and has excelled in doing it.
To circle back to the importance of Ingram, when you look at this Lakers team, I like their guard depth. Even in the Western Conference, when you have Rondo and Ball as your 2 point guards, and Josh Hart, who played well yesterday, and by the way, he finished the season last year 5 straight 20-plus point games. He had 20 last night, and then Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was bad last night, but is a good rotational, he's a good 4th guard on a team. Their guard depth is fine. Rondo, Ball, Hart, KCP. Their front court depth is non-existent. You have your starters, Ingram, LeBron, JaVale, and then you have Kuzma. And then who else do you trust? Beasley didn't play any meaningful minutes last night. Lance is there to be an instigator and to once every 2 weeks catch fire. Like, they need, like, I know they said, oh, we're gonna be careful on LeBron's minutes. No, you're not. He played 38 last night. He's gonna play 38 every night. They need Ingram to be able to do the same thing. They need Ingram to be able to, and they need to be able to run the offense through him in those 10 to 12 minutes a night that LeBron's on the bench. Because no matter who Lonzo is, he's not a guy you're going to run the offense through. He's going to be running the offense himself. Same with Rajon Rondo. He's going to be running the offense himself through somebody else to go score. That's got to be Brandon Ingram.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, Jerry Jones signs off on who the quarterback of the future is for the Cowboys. That is next on First Things First.
Tonight on FS1.
This place is beyond electric.
Manny Machado and the